Okay. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mang. Welcome back to Solo Role Manging with Shadows of Adventure, which is my sort of ongoing RPG hack. I introduced this last week, and I've done a lot more work on it in the last week. And, I'm eager to kind of get back into it and talk about a bunch of this stuff. So, I have here like a cover page for Shadows Adventure. Very crude. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't know shit. And of course, this is just AI art because I'm never going to publish this anyway. This is entirely for personal use. So, whatever. So, I have it there, Shadow of the Demon Lord / Heroes of Adventure hack. And I think, I can't really claim much in this game as like my own thoughts and my own sort of creativity and design. A lot of it is still Shadow of the Demon Lord. Very little remains, I think, of Heroes of Adventure. Only two aspects I would say are definitively Heroes of Adventure. One is the magic system using health instead of castings or Vancian or anything like that. Spell slots. So that's distinctively Heroes of Adventure. I don't know how many other RPGs use that sort of system. But we have kind of done some work on that as well to change it a little bit. And then the other thing would be the class system of just at level 1, you get a class, and that class has a laundry list of abilities, and each level you pick one ability. That's still pretty Heroes of Adventure. But, of course, I have also tweaked that and gone a bit away from that. And I don't know if I would ever... I like the Shadow of the Demon Lord path system. I do like it a lot. And truth be told, like with my family and stuff, I probably could have just played Shadow of the Demon Lord with them. Because the path system in there does start off pretty basic. You get one of 4 paths at level 1. You're a warrior, you're a priest, you're a rogue, or you're a magician. That's it. Those are the choices. And then at level 3, you get to pick from like one of, in the core rulebook at least, like one of 10 or 12 expert paths. And by level 3, you probably understand the system a bit more, understand your character a bit more, what you're kind of going for. So that's not really an overwhelming choice. And then at level 7, you get your master path. And that's obviously a big list, but not that big for most people, because most people aren't going to pick any of the shit that doesn't really relate to their previous path choices. So there's not that many options for most people. And you could just supply that to people of just be like, yeah, you probably want this one, or this one. So it's flexible if you really want to, but it's not that overwhelming. But I wanted to do my own thing, and, I wanted to change some other things, and so on and so forth, and that brought us Shadows of Adventure. And I am really glad that I did this, because this is my game now. Essentially, not that I have designed a whole lot, but if I want to change something, I change something. I'm not sitting here like, oh, well, the designer, he intended it to be this way, I shouldn't touch it. That's, how the game was kind of designed and play tested and balanced around blah, blah, blah. Here, if I want to change something, fuck it, I'll change it. And you can do that, of course, with any game. I mean, you play D&D 5th edition, you are not beholden to any rules of D&D 5th edition, but there's obviously a general consensus, and rules are there for a reason, and so on and so forth. But this is the Wild West of just making up your own hack. And so, as I keep playing, as I keep reading and writing on it and working on it, and reading other sources, watching some other videos, and kind of just getting more into game design, we are changing things. So it's been a pretty fun process, especially going through the bestiary and stuff, which I'll get to. But yeah, so that's my nice little makeshift cover page that I have. You know, eventually, like, if I put together the entire, like, book, and like I have a whole, you know, kind of book filled with all the rules that I would be happy with, and everything's kind of there that I'm pleased with. I might actually, like, go to a company like I did with Hero's Adventure and just get a copy printed out, hardcover. That would be kind of cool. And at that point, if anyone, you know, watching these streams wants a copy of the PDF or something, maybe I'll just put it in the description, just for a very small audience. But that's a ways off yet. But I've been putting this all together with Google Slides. So I've got like 73 pages here of stuff. But it's all just like very pragmatic. There's not a lot of design here yet, because it's not really that important to me. So this is a cheat sheet right here for Shadow the Demon Lord. And I have adjusted a few things and added a few sections for my changes. And actually, there's now a few more things on this cheat sheet that are different or no longer applicable. So one of the things is like charge. On your turn as an action, you can do the charge action. And in Shadow the Demon Lord, this lets you move up to your speed and then make one melee attack, knockdown, or shove. And all attacks and challenge rolls you have take a 1 Bane penalty until the end of the round. But other people have said that at higher levels, that 1 Bane penalty is really not a big deal. And so there's almost no reason to ever take a slow turn, because you can just take a fast turn, go immediately, and then charge, and you get to move and attack, which kind of nullifies the big penalty of taking a fast turn. So this has been changed to be more like, I don't know, I want to say 4th edition or I don't know what edition. But basically you have to move in a straight line. So you have to move in a straight line, no zigzags, no diagonals, nothing. A straight line. And you have to move at least 3 squares, so at least 15 feet on that charge. And then at the end of the charge, you do get to make a melee attack, knockdown, or shove, and you still have the Bane penalty. So it's still useful if you have an enemy 3 squares away from you in a straight line. It's still useful, but it's not as good as original. So stuff like that I just like. And I've been reading a lot of like discussions about Shadow the Demon Lord and complaints that people have had and negatives with it. And it's actually kind of nice, because a lot of the things that I have changed in this hack are things that people have complained about. So that's kind of nice. Another big change, probably one of the biggest changes entirely, is that I've eliminated insanity from the entire game. Insanity is no longer a concept. So this whole section down here in the lower left, no longer applicable. I made this change like yesterday, so. Corruption I kept, because I still kind of like the idea of corruption, you know, of characters doing evil things and then their soul kind of becoming tainted by it as as hell sort of calls out to them and wants to claim their soul. Just as a way of kind of mechanically swaying players away from doing really heinous shit. And I would certainly not be aggressive with corruption. you know, I wouldn't just be handing it out willy-nilly. You'd have to be doing some pretty bad stuff. So chances are, like, when playing with my family, it will never come up. Like, they're not really the type to do really evil stuff. But I still prefer to be there, just in general. But Insanity is gone, and Insanity came from a lot of spell effects. I think, like, over 100 spells when I looked yesterday mention Insanity. So I had to go through and prune all of that stuff. And also, from frightening enemies and horrifying enemies. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, so frightening. Frightening by itself doesn't gain insanity unless you're already frightened, and then you get an insanity. So frightening is more about the debuff of being frightened. And then horrifying, though, that was very likely to just add insanity to you. And there's a lot of monsters in the default monster list, the bestiary here, that are frightening or horrifying. And then once you gain insanity, you can gain enough insanity up to your will, at which point you go mad. And there's a madness table somewhere. Yeah, there it is. So this stuff is like catatonic, violent rage sort of stuff, panic, confusion, things like that. You know, typical, like, kind of Call of Cthulhu stuff. And throughout the course of the game, you could also take quirks in order to reduce your insanity total. You know, just like little phobias or compulsive behaviors. I mean, it's very Call of Cthulhu stuff. And it's something that I would expect to play with and find in Call of Cthulhu. And enjoy when I'm playing Call of Cthulhu. Because I think that's part of the fun. Is just, you know, seeing just horrific, insane stuff. And losing your mind and losing control of your character. And eating poop and stuff, you know, just, or whatever. Like, I expect to find it there, but certainly for this, I want more of just typical high fantasy thing, and that just doesn't have much of a place in it. So, with Insanity gone, I had to go through, obviously, a lot of spells and make some changes. Sometimes I just removed the mention of Insanity entirely. Other times I changed it to, like, you become frightened for a round or so, or something like that. But then a lot of the time, I changed it to stress. So stress was our existing system for magic casting. Whenever you cast magic spells, you take stress based on the cost of the spell. So what I've done now, is not redo it, but I've expanded it. So this is my new section on damage and stress. So damage is what you expect. It comes from stuff like weapons, traps, spells, falling off a cliff, whatever. You know, damage is what you think of. Physical, cuts, bruises, broken bones, all that kind of stuff. And you have a damage pool that builds up, and if your damage reaches your health, you know, you are incapacitated. And I'm going to be using some optional rules for Shadow the Demon Lord for injuries. So when you become incapacitated, you have a chance of getting a major or minor injury. And that can be stuff like, you know, minor stuff, traumatic injuries, scars, things like that, or, you know, broken bones, or you could actually, like, lose fingers, lose limbs, you know, all sorts of stuff. It could be quite horrific, depending on the role. But, like, the really bad stuff, like losing a limb, and worse, that only happens on a very small chance. Basically a 50% chance followed by a 16% chance, followed by, you know, I don't know, whatever that is. A very small chance. So it's very unlikely to happen. But anyways, so that's damage. Stress then is like mental damage. It's like mental fatigue. It's a, you know, a taxing pain upon your mind in some way. So of course it comes from spell casting. You're gonna be straining your mind as you cast more and more spells throughout the day. But it can also come from just, you know, seeing horrifying stuff, or, you know, witnessing terrible things, or certain other effects can just increase your stress. And so the way we have it then is that you have kind of your physical pain and your physical fatigue and all that sort of stuff that builds up, and your mental strain and your mental fatigue that can build up. And both of those are combined. And, you know, if that total reaches your health, you become incapacitated. And that can be either your body physically like breaking down or shutting down, or, you know, something like that. You become incapacitated through loss of blood or whatever, or your mind just can't take it anymore and shuts down that way. You have overstrained it, which is mostly going to build up from casting spells. I don't expect the warrior to really ever reach high levels of stress, but all characters can get stress from various sources. It's just more of a concern for spellcasters. So when you become incapacitated, the result of that depends on the thing that incapacitated you. So if your final bit over the edge came from physical damage, then, you know, you potentially have to roll an injury and you become disabled. You start the sort of dying process because you are actually like bleeding out or whatever. But if you become incapacitated from stress, it's not as bad. You will not start dying. Instead, you become catatonic. You become catatonic for 1 hour, plus 1 hour for every point of stress that you took over your health. So, you know, say you have 15 health, you've taken 10 damage, and then you take 5 stress. You'd become catatonic for 1 hour. But say you took 10 stress, going 5 over your kind of health limit, you'd become catatonic for 6 hours. And while you're catatonic, of course, you are prone and defenseless. You are out of it. So, and since you take stress, like, at the start of the spellcasting process, you can't just, like, say, yes, I'm going to take 30 stress and cast this massive god ball of energy, and then I'll pass out. It's like, no, you pass out first. You can't overstrain your mind like that, and that would be a really bad idea, obviously. So there's no, like, I'm gonna pass out, but I want to cast this spell as my last thing. Like, that's not it. So passing out from stress is gonna come from you already being stressed out, and you get some from some other effect, usually. And as I kind of work with the bestiary and redo a lot of effects, and as I keep going and going and going, you know, I can work with that system. That's another kind of resource that I can tax in different ways. But I have to be a little careful because, like I said, it is more punishing to casters than it is for the big frontline fighters. I've also changed it so that I got rid of that thing where if you rest, your damage heals first before your stress. That doesn't make any sense. Your body and mind both rest, so they both simultaneously heal. The drawback of that, of course, is that I'm going to do more effects that stress you, so you kind of need that healing. Okay, so that was kind of the big change from this last week. Is going over stress a lot more and removing insanity. Other things that I added ongoing damage. Because going through the bestiary and looking at other bestiaries and stuff, I couldn't believe that, this game doesn't have ongoing damage. Because I remember that being such a common thing in 4th edition D&D, which I played for years. And I didn't realize that it's not really in 5th edition D&D. They removed it. And it's not in Shadow of the Demon Lord. Technically, it kind of is. Things can be set on fire. They can catch fire, and they'll take fire damage every turn. So it's basically ongoing damage, but that's the only real effect that does it. And I think from kind of a combat battle design perspective, it just allows me to do more stuff, and it's not that complicated. But I did make it pretty lenient. There's not going to be overwhelming amounts of ongoing damage. And on your turn, at the start of your turn, you'll take any ongoing damage you have. And then as an action, you can just remove the ongoing damage. You brush yourself off, you pat yourself down, whatever. You use an action to get rid of it. Someone else can also use an action to get rid of it on another character. But if you don't do that, at the end of your turn, you do get a challenge roll to try and just automatically shrug it off. Either strength or agility, depending on if it's bleeding, burning, envenomed, freezing, and acid. So use an action to make sure you get rid of it, or trust in the challenge roll and just hope you get rid of it. So ongoing damage, unlikely to go on for like 8 turns or something like that. And this is probably going to be like a 1 or a 2 turn thing most of the time. Maybe I should change it to be a Bane on the challenge roll at the end of the turn to kind of incentivize spending an action, but I don't know. Removing actions from players for shit like that is pretty annoying, and I wanted to kind of go with 4th edition, where at the end of every round you get a save to try and shrug it off. Because I think, like, for myself and many other players, they'll probably just trust in the challenge roll. So, it's fine. But, you'll notice it's all strength or agility. So if you are a spellcaster, being set on fire is pretty bad. Because you're not likely to have a lot of agility, or, strength, or whatever. So you may actually want to spend an action to do it. So yeah, I just wanted to have that in there. Okay, so that's that. Then we have my kind of newly designed character class sheets that I've done up here. So most of the artwork is from Heroes of Adventure, just because those classes were the same. The adventurer, the assassin, the barbarian, the bard, beastmaster, so on and so forth. This is not going to be the final design. Honestly, the final design is probably going to be 2 pages for every class. Probably 1 page, just a nice big artwork, just because I like nice artwork. And maybe a bit longer of a blurb about the class and what they kind of excel at, rather than just 1 line of text. And then plenty of room to describe their talent, because some of these classes' talents really are a lot of text. And then the second page would be just their big list of abilities. And honestly, I may go to a system where I have basic abilities and advanced abilities. And once you hit level 5 with a class or something, you can start taking advanced abilities if you want. Right now, they're all just whatever. You can take any of them at any level. But restricting some based on level helps with a couple things. It lets me do a bit more. It lets me kind of stretch things a bit farther, because I know that this won't be taken until characters are at least level 5. So I can throw in some more powerful stuff. And also with multi-classing, I can make it so that, the best abilities are not just immediately available if anyone wants to dip in 1 level for a multi-class. So probably going forward, I am going to redesign that, which will be another change from Heroes of Adventure. So that's all that. And, you know, I got the Artificer in there. My Mage Knight, which I'm pretty pleased with. I'd really like to play a Mage Knight soon. The Spellbinder. I gave the Spellbinder 6-shooter as an ability he can take, so that he can turn a pistol into a 6-shooter. Which is pretty good. And there's no limit on how many he can make. But it does cost, you know, a gold and a pistol. And I think a pistol is already like 5 gold. So he's not going to have many 6-shooters, most likely. And then I just added a new class. I wanted, you know, I want to add a few more classes, but I added a commander. So this was, you know, the sort of leader, the one that can direct others on the battlefield and buff others on the battlefield and things like that. So you can see his talent text is quite lengthy, but I was pretty pleased with it. I think it's a pretty cool class. You know, one of those classes that just every group would benefit from having, you know, compared to, say, a Spellbinder, which is a bit more sort of a selfish class. But yeah, so they get a certain amount of leadership points during every encounter, equal to their class level +2. That resets every encounter, so they have that for every battle. And they get a number of abilities they can use. They're all triggered actions, and they cost different amounts of points. So you can, like, mark a creature that takes extra damage for 1 round. You can have an ally within medium range immediately move up to their speed without provoking opportunity attacks. You can use the help action using will instead of intellect, because I wanted to make this a will-based class. Just because will is more like persuasion and intimidation compared to intellect, which is like deception. So, and then prepare for battle at the, you can have a bit of a heal there. 1d3 health per class level. Form up. So then at 4th level and at 8th level, you get a couple new abilities you can use. Form up at the start of any encounter. Any number of your allies within short range may move up to their speed. And on your feet, which basically prevents someone from dying. Costing 2 points. The thing is, these are all triggered actions. You only get 1 triggered action per round. So it is kind of a hefty decision on, you know, what exactly I use each round. You know, do I wait until it's not my turn to use the triggered action in case someone dies? You know, there's decisions to be made. And then some of his abilities are like improved versions of the basic ones. So improved rallying mark. Whenever an ally deals damage to the target, they can also heal. Things like that. So I was pretty pleased with this. But he needs way more abilities than this. Like, there needs to be a lot more abilities than this. And I just don't have enough room on the page here. So yeah, I need to split all these into 2 pages and then do basic and advanced abilities. So that's good stuff. I've been enjoying that. And then finally, the bestiary that I want to talk about just a little bit. We're going to get to the game again. I'm not going to spend an hour here, I don't think. But I've been doing a lot of work on the bestiary. So right now it's from page 45 here down to 84. So I have quite a few monsters. And, you know, I went through and someone actually had already done the work for me. Because I was thinking of, like, when you're building a bestiary for your high fantasy D&D-esque game, you know, what are, like, the quintessential creatures? So what do you need to have that when someone opens this are like, oh yeah, I'm looking for this, I better find it. And so someone went through like 70 bestiaries since the original D&D and just cataloged like which ones appear in each book. So which ones are the most common to appear? And of course, the number one most common monster across all bestiaries is the dragon. Obviously, it's in Dungeons and Dragons, so you have to have a dragon. And I'm going to add a lot more dragons than I have now, but I do have a dragon and a drake. Actually, I have a young dragon. Then I think zombie is the second most. Then I think just like human or something is the third most. And then from there, you've got stuff like skeletons, orcs, ogres, trolls, wolves, giant spiders, so on and so forth. I mean, a lot of the stuff you'd think of, but it was handy to have that list. So initially, when I first started this, I was like, okay, I'm going to just go down through the Heroes of Adventure bestiary and just convert a bunch of that stuff. I abandoned that fairly quickly because there's just a lot of crap in there. But you can see several of those things that got ported over. The air elemental, the angel, the ant queen, the ape, the banshee, the barghest, the basilisk, bats, bear. Yeah, a few things. And Shadow of the Demon Lord has some things which are very generic. So if you go to animal in the Shadow of the Demon Lord, you get huge animal, large animal, medium animal, small animal, tiny animal, animal swarm. These are generic stat blocks that just provide a baseline for stats for that size of animal and that difficulty of animal. And then you can take that and then change certain things to fit the type of animal. So it says like you can add the aquatic trait to create a medium-sized shark, or pack fighting talent to create a wolf. So this has been really pretty useful just for giving me kind of a baseline for stats and attacks and stuff that I know has been pretty heftily play tested and balanced. Now, as we change more and more of the game, that balance gets thrown out the window, but that's okay. So those have been pretty useful though. And I didn't want to just have in my bestiary medium animal, large animal, whatever. I wanted to actually write out boar and bird of prey and bear. So then I can just, when I say I encounter a bear, I just control F bear, and then I have his stats, and the bear's stuff is different than a generic size 2 animal. And he's got some other special stuff and so on and so forth. So then we've got our hellbugs, and we played with these guys last time. Hook scuttlers, boom bugs. I've also added hell wasps, so we have stats for them. We should encounter them tonight. So they have the virulent injection ability. Whenever they hit, they do virulent injection. Strength challenge roll. On a failure, the creature takes 3 ongoing envenomed. And then if they're hit with virulent injection again while taking the ongoing damage, they have to make another strength challenge roll, and upon failure it increases to 1d6 envenom. And any creatures incapacitated by hell wasps are of course implanted with hell wasp eggs, which hatch in 1d3 hours into 1d6 hell wasps, dealing 4d6 damage to the creature. They're pretty nasty. And yeah, I mean, if you get surrounded by like 5 hell wasps and they're all just constantly stabbing you and injecting you, you're probably going to die, and you're probably going to burst open into hell wasps. Great. We got the classic zombie. This one is just taken straight from Shadow of the Demon Lord. So it has, grab attack, it's sluggish, it has headshot, so if you roll 20 or higher, they automatically die, which is fun. And, zombie plague, which does bad stuff, turns you into a zombie. And then, last week for my family D&D, they're still doing Lost Mines of Phandalin, so they have ash zombies in there, so I made that as a variant. Instead of zombie plague, they just released this puff of ash. It was pretty neutered. They didn't have any trouble with the ash zombies, but yeah. Then I threw in Twig Blight in there just because they were encountering Twig Blights, so I needed stats for it. But this would not be in the actual bestiary. It's pretty lame. The Young Green Dragon, because they're likely to encounter that, along with the Cultists. So this was all just because My family is currently running that. And then red caps, because I want them to encounter red caps. So we've got splotch caps and red caps. I'm not going to go through the whole beast sheet. But yeah, a lot of stuff. Chewels in there, and aboleth. I had to have an aboleth. Fungaloids. All the different fungaloids. So almost none of this was like my creation or my thoughts, really. I did a lot of the adapting work, adapting it to this system, but pretty much all of this came from several different other bestiaries and monster manuals that people have written. So, of course, there's the Shadow of the Demon Lord. I didn't take much of this outside of using stat blocks as baselines for other creatures, just so I had kind of general relative numbers. But the actual abilities and stuff like that, very little came from here, because it's mostly very dark and grim, and I didn't care for any of that. The 13th Age Bestiary. This was a big one. A lot of stuff came from this one. I still think it's a fantastic bestiary. Very exciting stuff. That being said, a lot of the actual numbers and stats and abilities and things like that are very much based around, tactical combat. And I don't think 13th Age was designed for a grid as much as 4th edition D&D, which kind of was its inspiration, but still fairly similar to 4th edition D&D. But I'm okay with that. My problem with 4th edition D&D was not like the grid-based combat and like tactical design. It was that all the numbers were nonsense and battles took like 8 hours because just everything was a slog. We don't really have that problem in Shadows of Adventure. So using all these fun, cool abilities and like interesting design for creatures, this was a lot of fun. So many creatures were taken pretty much wholesale from here, such as the Fungaloids. That was really where I was like, okay, let's just go all in on 13th Age and their combat design. And the Chewels as well. That was good. So the Fungaloids. So the Fungaloids, they have this list of fungal attacks. This kind of generic list of abilities, and then different Fungaloids, they each get like one fungal attack. So when you put them on the field, they're like, okay, this one gets poison tentacles, and this one gets infectious spores, and this one gets piercing shriek, and that's his fungal attack. So yeah, I mean, just like a variety of different interesting creatures, all part of the same kind of set. And so you'd build the battlefield, and you'd have like, a couple Fungaloid creepers and a Sporier and maybe one brain cap and 2 drudges and, stuff like that. And they all have different abilities. Really fun stuff. So 13th Age was a big one. I also did look at the 5th edition monster manual for D&D. Didn't take much from here, to be perfectly honest. I didn't really even go through all of it just because I had so much other... it covers a lot of the basic stuff. It covers a lot of the basic stuff, but it also has a lot of stuff that's distinctly D&D, and I don't want to be distinctly D&D. So I didn't take a lot of the stuff that I think of when I think of D&D. Like Gith. I'm not going to put Gith in my game. I don't want that. That's D&D. But, I'm going to have goblins in my game. But the thing is, I'm not going to take goblins from 5th edition D&D. There's better, cooler, funner goblins than this shit. This is lame. So, yeah, I didn't really use it much. Now, Flea Mortals from MCDM. So this is Matt Colville's kind of company. And they are coming out with the MCDM RPG. But they've also done a lot of stuff for 5th edition D&D. And I think if you do play 5th edition D&D, you should get this book. The monster design here, so much more interesting to me. And this was really written to be like a replacement monster manual. So it covers a lot of the same core stuff, but just better. So it has goblins in there. But these goblins are way cooler. You get goblin assassins and curse spitters and lackeys and snipers, spine cleavers. And looking at these stat blocks and everything, it just feels a lot more like 4th edition D&D. And I know Matt Colville is a fan of 4th edition D&D. So I've also, taken a good amount of stuff from this book. All of my goblins are definitely from this book. And a handful of other things. But, I went through 13th Age Bestiary first. So, like, I took 13th Age kobolds instead of MCDM kobolds. And, they're both similar. They're both trap-based. But, yeah. So the big thing that I took from this book that is also kind of presented in the 13th Age Bestiary, and both of them are directly inspired by 4th edition D&D's concept of it, and that's the idea of mooks, or minions. Basically, creatures that are pretty much as dangerous as like a normal version of that creature. So offensively, they're pretty much as dangerous. Not quite. I think in the MCDM version, they're not quite as deadly. Just as a single thing. So for example here, like Goblin Lackey is a minion. +3 to hit, 1 piercing damage with a thrown dagger. Whereas, I don't know if he has another 1/4 CR goblin. But like the sniper, slightly more powerful, does +5 to hit, and then 1d4 +3 piercing damage. So certainly, the idea is to be a lesser creature. Not quite as deadly, but still presents a theoretical danger, because they also have this group attack concept. But they die in 1 hit. If they take damage from any attack, or as the result of any failed, throw, challenge roll, whatever, they die. Their hit points are reduced to 0. Additionally, and this is an MCDM thing, this was not present in 13th Age, I don't think, but if they take enough damage from that attack that it's over their hit point number, they get overkilled. And then any excess damage spills over onto another, like, adjacent minion. So if you have 2 lackeys next to each other and you overkill one, it goes on to the other one. And then that, because it took any amount of damage, also dies. So if you do 8 points of damage to a lackey here, you technically kill 2 of them, assuming they're next to each other. And then you can overkill as much as you are able to, as long as they're all next to each other and you overkill the amount of damage. So that allows you, as a DM, to just throw like 30 minions into a battle, and it really requires very little bookkeeping, because you're not tracking really any amount of health whatsoever. If they take damage, they die. And it allows players to just kind of cut through them, taking out multiples most likely in 1 hit, and feel very satisfied in doing so. But they also are, theoretically a danger. They're not just punching bags. They can do damage. You do want to kill them. And that's thanks to this group attack mechanic, where basically if you have a group of minions all near each other that can target the same person with their attack, they all get like a cumulative bonus, and you do 1 roll with a big cumulative bonus that does like an extra damage for every minion involved in the attack. So rather than rolling 7 separate dice as all these lackeys chuck their daggers, you'd roll 1 die, and it almost certainly will hit and do a decent amount of damage. And so it basically kind of just skips some steps and averages it out. I really like the minion mechanic. I really liked it in 4th edition D&D when we had it. I think it's fun. I think it's fun to just throw a lot more creatures at a party, and then you get these big epic battles that aren't necessarily like a huge slog to go through. So I'll be trying that tomorrow, most likely, with my family, and maybe we'll get to some of that tonight, depending on what we encounter. As far as my bestiary goes, I have a number of creatures I've marked as minions, and I think I marked hook scuttlers as minions as well. I probably should come up with a new hellbug entirely that is literally a minion, rather than make hook scuttlers minions. Yeah, I probably should. Okay, I mean, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that right now. So I'm going to change this. Hook scuttlers, I think should be difficulty... Do we think difficulty 5? Probably. Well, they're size 1/2. So again, this is where I would go to Shadow of the Demon Lord, look at their animal stat block. Size 1/2 is a small animal, difficulty 1. So, okay. So difficulty 1 creature is going to have 13 defense, 5 health. And you can adjust these numbers one way or another. So we can make this difficulty 1. Now that's assuming it just has a natural weapon that +3 on the roll, 1d6 +1. If you give it more and more abilities, it kind of bumps up the difficulty a little bit. But we'll stick with difficulty 1. I actually want to bump it down the defense to like 11, but we'll bump its health up to 10. And there are guidelines for adjusting stats. You can adjust a creature's defense by up to 2 in either direction without altering its difficulty. And it says if a creature's health is less than 20, you can increase its health by up to 20, increasing its difficulty by 1 step. But I think from 5 to 10 is not game-breaking, so we'll go with that. Everything else can pretty much stay the same. We're going to remove this minion text and this group attack from hooks and claws. And this will be +3, 1d6. I do want to really get in the habit, though, of not rolling for damage. So 1d6 averages out to 3. It's a bit of a messy stat block, I'll admit. +3, 1d6, 3 damage. Attack roll 20+, target takes 2 ongoing bleeding damage. Ideally, for pretty much most creatures, I'd like to have some sort of attack roll 20+ effect. Just because I've basically removed crits and crit fails. And instead, we have Shadow of the Demon Lord where it's 20+ or less than 0. So, stuff like that. Okay, and let's make a minion. What should we call this Hellbug minion? What's like a really lame bug? What's a lame bug? I don't want an ant. It has to be kind of something... I don't know, like a ladybug or something. I mean, you could just call it Hellbug, and that would be the creature's name, but... See, I'm terrible. I'm so uncreative. I'm just gonna Google lame bugs. Not much. Oh, we could do something like a worm. Yeah, okay. Like some sort of weird little hell larva. There you go, hell larva. Perfect. Okay, so this will be difficulty of 1 with the minion tag. Size 1/2. Perception, I don't really care about. I give most creatures a perception 12 because I don't think about it too much. For defense, pretty low, probably like a 10. And then for health, you don't want to put it to 1. And I think the MCDM book actually went in of why not putting it at 1. Yes, you might not. Why not just give minions 1 hit point, like in 4th edition? Spells that use a creature's hit points to determine effectiveness would devastate all minions. Spells and effects that deal damage without any attack roll or save, like Magic Missile, would lay waste to minions with 1 hit point. This fits the fiction for minions with low challenge ratings like goblins and zombies, but the balance of combat and fiction breaks down to near silliness at higher levels. Finally, high-level spells with a save for half damage would feel wasted against minions with 1 hit point. There you go. So we'll put it at 5. Everything else doesn't matter too much. I guess we'll give them kind of higher strength. Rest can pretty much be as that. Speed, let's go 25. And then give them the minion thing, explains it. And then they don't really need any other ability. You just kind of give them an attack and call it a day. I mean, I could come up with something. Like, I don't know, they can secrete some sort of ooze or a webbing of some. I don't know. What do larvae even do? But we definitely want like maybe something sort of acidic as their attack. Acidic slime. And give that group attack. And then say +1 1 damage. Basically, yeah. Again, if we go to goblins and I show you from the MCDM book, the Goblin Lackey, they do have some other, abilities. So they actually have crafty. All goblins here have crafty, so they don't provoke ops. They also get tiny stabs. So if an enemy starts their turn within 5 feet of 3 or more lackeys, they have to roll or take 1 piercing damage for each lackey. So just auto damage, which is not a bad little mechanic, because that's what minions are going to do. They're going to swarm. Now for his attack, he gets +3 to hit. Our numbers are slightly different, but group attack, for every minion involved in the attack, it's going to get +1 to hit and +1 damage. So you get 5 hell larvas in there. You're dealing like +5 on the roll and 6 damage or something like that. See how uncreative I am. I mean, you could just reflavor tiny stabs and give it that. But no, I'm thinking more like they kind of swarm all over you. I want to do like immobilized or prone, maybe. Like you just get covered in larva. That sounds pretty fun. So maybe attack roll 20 plus. Knocked prone. I guess you could probably do a challenge roll. I don't know still not sure the general consensus for creatures on when to allow a challenge roll or not. But that's like a crit effect, so there you go. And then we could add in as a side effect, let's do, instead of start of turn, end of turn. Let's do swarming mass. If at the end of a creature's turn, they are within 5 feet of 3 or more hell larvae, they are immobilized for 1 round. And 1 round always is until the end of the next round. So you will always spend at least 1 turn with that affliction. But there you go. So they kind of just swarm all over him. You're kind of stuck there unless you get some outside assistance. And then you're primed. And I guess I probably could give a buff then if they attack an immobilized target. Although creatures already do get, I believe, a buff if you attack an immobilized target. Other creatures make all attack rolls with 1 boon. So that's already pretty big. I think that might make Hell Larva a little too dangerous if I then gave them like an extra benefit. So I guess we'll go with that. So there you go. There's our Hellbug minion. Fun stuff. Okay. I think we're probably ready. Oh, well, okay. I talked a lot about the MCDM book, which is really good. I really like it. But the other ones I looked at, this Scarred Lands Creature Collection. I didn't go through a lot of this. Again, this is a 5th edition kind of supplement, but instead of meant to be like a replacement, it's just a lot of kind of weird creatures. So I haven't gone through most of this. There's still plenty of this I'd like to add, just as some fun wild creatures. But I just started scrolling and I was like, oh, this Acid Shambler, I gotta put that shit in. So I put that in. That's pretty cool. And then I saw this Amalthean Goat, and I was like, oh, I like that. I'll put that in. And then I changed from my family game. You know, I'm going to give them this list of items that this wizard needs for a ritual. So instead of cow's milk, now I changed it to Amalthean Goat milk. So they're going to have to track one of these bad boys down and milk it. That should be fun. So there, yeah, I mean, just a lot of cool stuff in this book as well. Very, very out there, different creatures. And from what I've seen, like, it seems good. Seems good. And then this one gets recommended a lot when talking about like best bestiaries. This is Hackmaster's Hacklopedia of Beasts. And this one's pretty interesting. I didn't really use much from this so far, just because it's harder for me to convert. I have to actually like come up with all the abilities and stats and everything just on my own. But this gives much more of like a bestiary feel to it, like an encyclopedia. With this kind of, you know, you get the tracks You get where their location is on the map. You get the size comparison chart. You get all this info about, like, if they're nocturnal or not, their vision, their sense of smell, their habitat, their diet, their climate. You know, if you butcher them, like, is there medicinal components, spell components? Are they edible? You know, stuff like that. I don't know anything really about Hackmaster or how the system works, and that's why it's a little tricky to convert. But just as, like, a bestiary of cool, interesting creatures, yeah, definitely kind of one to peruse. Really, just, yeah, nice book. It's one of those you'd probably love to just have a physical version of. Cool stuff. Yeah, and then there's just a couple others I've been looking at, but I haven't really used anything from. There's a lot of bestiaries out there. Okay, with that, I think we're about ready to actually get back to it. Yeah. So last time, as a recap, we followed this little expedition that this guy, Garando, sent out to this manse in the forest after Malkalon informed him of its location. And this group of 6 guys, you know, all armed and armored, they went up against the Hellbugs, and they dealt with the initial volley of Hellbugs just fine. You know, they butchered them real good. But then they opened the doors to the manse and out flooded a big crowd of hook scuttlers and boombugs. And they basically got slaughtered. You know, we didn't actually play it all out. We hand-waved a lot of stuff, but most likely they would have been just slaughtered. And so then Malkalon decided to clean up using his newfound abilities. We laid down a minefield, and we were sniping with our little darts, and it was all pretty good. So, can't complain. So, and then I went and I looted their bodies. And last time I said that they each had as much as I did, which was 4 silver, so I rolled a 1d6 for all 6 of them. That was too much money. I'm not going to give myself that much money. So I changed that to copper. 23 copper instead. So now I have 23 copper, 4 silver. And that's where we left off. And I have to kind of decide now, do I think Garando is going to send another expedition? Is he going to wash his hands of it? Or or should I attempt to go in there by myself? I think that's the last resort. We don't want to do that. I think probably we like... I think we should actually go to Garando and, like, convince him to send another expedition, and I'll, like, assist. You know, he can hire me, sort of thing. Without kind of telling him that, like, yeah, I sat nearby and I watched those bugs kill all your men. More like I arrived late on the scene and they were already gone. They were already dead. That sort of thing. But I cleaned up the bugs afterwards. And just tell him, yeah, I don't think there's many bugs left. I killed a lot of them. So I think that's probably what we should do. But maybe let's wait till tomorrow, because I have taken a little bit of stress. And, yeah, it's better to go in fully recharged. All right. So we head back home. We don't increase any suspicion this time. We don't come home late. We're just chilling. Music already stopped because I've been going, like, an hour. Yep. Don't you have just like, well, I'm sure. I feel like there's probably D&D music for everything. Anyways, all right. So, yeah, go back home and we're just going to rest. And I don't have to roll for anything. We heal a very specific amount. We heal for 4. And that 4 is healed from our damage and stress. So we're right as rain. I mean, had I kept the old rules, you know, we would have healed 1 damage and then we would have healed 3 stress, so it would have been the same thing. But if I had had 4 stress, I would wake up today with 1 stress left over. But what I thought about that system, not only is it not realistic, but it would just incentivize some like really nonsense stuff, like really gamist kind of stuff, where you would just like chug healing potions before you go to bed to ensure that your healing rate just heals your stress, because that's more important. Yeah, just nonsense like that. It's like, come on, just heal both. But that's what playtesting's all about, and development. Okay, I should not forget that I have arcane armor, which is not a, why is this so loud now? Everything's always so loud. Arcane armor is not a permanent +2 to defense. It does only last 4 hours, and I have to remember to cast it. That's sort of like its biggest deterrent. That's exactly why you don't just say, yeah, you have permanent +2 to defense, because you have to remember to cast it. I don't think video games work like that. Some video games work like that. So yeah, I should remember to cast that. Let's just cast it now, because again, it's free. You just have to remember. So my defense, I don't want to just change that number, because I'll forget. And I'll think I'll always have 12 defense. So, I'm gonna write arcane armor there, +2. Yeah, I mean, it's always a bit of an annoying system, I think, in a tabletop RPG. But that's what it is. It's all very manual. Everything's manual. You know, you have to say that you cast it, otherwise not, and you have to remember and kind of think about how long 4 hours is before you have to cast it again. Usually, unless your DM's a real asshole, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And, you know, it's 1 action. Unless you're ambushed, you're probably going to have it, assuming, you know, you remember at some point during the day to say you cast it. What's this for? I know is D&D. What's this for? Fun? Fun would be the answer. Okay, so yeah, we wake up. I should buy a healing potion, actually. Yes. We can hold up to 10 items because our strength is 10. Currently, I'm holding 8 items. So let's spend 2 silver, because that's, I'm pretty sure, the cost. And prices and currency. I might eventually go through and change and just redo. I don't know if I have strong preferences, though, about currency and costs and all that. So this is as good as anything. The only thing I might do is go through and have a bit more lengthy of like a gear list or an equipment list, things that you can purchase. Purchase lists are always fun. That's the definition of fun. But there is the tool list as well, which are also pretty good. Well, I am in the midst of a solo campaign, so I have a character. I'd recommend probably watching some past episodes if you really want to get the whole gist of things. But recently I've been going over a lot more about this system that I'm creating here, Shadows of Adventure. But by and large, I'm playing Malkalon, a level 2 wizard who has had a very unfortunate string of bad luck recently. But he's still here, and he's still kicking, so he'll persevere. So there's a lot of tools that you can buy, you know, things like lockpicks, obviously, but also certain kits, disguise kits, healer's kit. Healer's kits is only for stabilizing someone that's dying. You can't use it to, like, actually heal people. So that's different from Heroes of Adventure. Crowbar is probably pretty useful. 1 boon on strength challenge rolls to open doors, containers, and other objects. It's actually not too shabby. Probably every group should have a crowbar. And then there's Toolkit, which is a very vague and open thing. A collection of tools used to work in one's profession. So certain things actually mention that you need a toolkit in order to perform it. Other times it's pretty vague. I mean, it's like, because professions are vague. So, you know, if you have the butcher profession, I guess your toolkit involves like meat cleavers and things like that, and maybe some hooks. I don't know. It's one of those things that you just see like, okay, this is my character. These are his professions. What would his toolkit consist of? And then you say that to the GM, and you hope that they agree. Hey, Kermit. I like that they're specifically torturers' tools. Back in my day, all we needed was a torch and a knife, but I guess now you need specific tools. We didn't actually ever torture that many things throughout my years of playing. It was talked about a lot. Like, there was always talk of torture. But the amount of times we actually did torture a creature for information is pretty slim. And that, I don't think that was due to us, like, not having the stomach for it or anything. I think maybe my DM was just more like, you know, like if torture was mentioned or threatened, they just kind of coughed up the information. I don't know. Okay, anyways. Oh, hirelings. Remember? Yeah, hirelings. Yes. So, a commoner as a hireling. So, servants, torchbearers, laborers, and grooms. Porters, I assume. Stuff like that. That's 5 copper per week. That's a really nice price compared to Heroes of Adventure. 5 copper per week. I could hire a torchbearer or something pretty easily. Now, a professional is like a craftsman or an artisan, blacksmiths, jewelers, scholars. That's 1 silver per week. That's pricier. But then, yeah, mercenary. The ones that will actually fight for you professionally. 5 silver a week. Kinda out of reach for a level 1 character. And there's not much way around that. Like, you could say, like, okay, I'm gonna hire a torchbearer, and oh shit, we gotta fight. Like, he's either not going to fight, he'll run, or if he is forced into a corner, you know, it's gonna be pathetic. Like, this is cannon fodder, basically. He's hired to carry a torch, that's what he's gonna do. So there isn't much way around that. Now, the alternative for me as a solo RPGer is to just, like, get a second hero, get a second character. You were watching an Overwatch 2 live stream, and I sound just like the guy who was streaming. Well, that's because, no, I don't have a reason why that. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. So I could get just a second character. You know, we did that with Garland ages ago with when he hired Brianna to be an equal partner. And we could do that, but usually I like to wait a little bit. I don't want to overwhelm myself. So we just have our one character. Potions. Here you go. So, healing potion is uncommon, costs 2 silver pieces each, and you heal equal to your healing rate. It's not amazing, but it's also pretty cheap. So, I'm going to buy a healing potion. Uno. Now, also you have incantations, which is what we used to have as scrolls. So it's really nice to actually have this outline for prices. So our rank 0 spell is an incantation, costs 1 silver. Rank 1, 5 silver. They're not cheap. Absolutely not cheap. Nice thing is you can actually make your own. If you have a writing kit, special inks worth at least half the price of the incantation. You can take an hour to write one. And then you can, anyone can use them. Now, the way it is here is based on power, so you actually have to have a certain amount of power, otherwise you get Banes to cast the spell. Honestly, I think that's a bit limiting. I like the idea that anyone can use scrolls. You know, it doesn't actually require magical ability to use them in any way. You are just kind of reading the instructions. Do I play RPGs by myself? Yes, it's called solo RPGs, solo role playing. There's a sizable community devoted to solo role playing. It's kind of been growing steadily ever since COVID. Because scheduling an RPG with a group of adults is often a very big pain in the ass. I do also play with a group of adults weekly, but a solo is just, it's flexible, it's simple. So yeah, so I'm probably going to keep my current scroll-based system where anyone can cast them. But this is a good baseline for prices and perhaps availability. I think I agree that, like, beyond rank 3 is going to be pretty hard to actually purchase in the world. And probably anything beyond rank 5, the Ministry of Magic is not even going to offer to people because it gets pretty wild then. Okay, so we've got our healing potion. We've spent our 2 silver. Let us go to Garando. Now, he knows of us. We delivered the map to him a couple days prior. And I guess we'll inform him that we were in that neck of the woods yesterday. And obviously he knows that his men did not return, so he presumes something terrible happened to them. So I inform him that they didn't even make it in the door, apparently. I wasn't there. I didn't see them die. You know, but their bodies were all in front of the open doorway. Now, you could roll like an intellect because I am lying to him, but honestly, I think it's a fairly believable lie. I'm not trying to pull a fast one on him for something sizable or you know, I'm not really attempting to get anything out of him. He has no reason to really doubt me. He was informed that the place was, you know, infested with large bugs. 2 + 2 = 4. So here, though, is where I tried to convince him to send another expedition, but this time I'll go with. You know, I am a wizard. I show him my magical grimoire and everything. I know how to cast magic. You send another group just like the first one, but this time I'm with them and we will succeed, for sure. And all I ask for is, you know, an equal cut of the reward. And I think probably, to be fair, he's probably paying these guys the mercenary rate. Like 5 silver. Now that's for 1 week, but this is one dangerous job. So I think it's probably about fair. So for 5 silver, you know, I will become another mercenary in his group. But instead of just being a dumbass with a shield and a sword, I know magic missile. So here I will try and convince him then. So this is a will challenge roll. I'm trying to persuade him to do this course of action. I'm not trying to deceive him in any way. I do want to go with these guys and clear out the manse and get paid my 5 silver. I have the most honest of intentions here. I don't think I need to apply any banes or boons here. I don't know what the boon would be. Because he's already lost men. I think he's disinclined to send another expedition, but I am kind of the swaying factor. Maybe. That depends on the roll. So really, I'm just rolling a d20 plus 2, and I need at least a 10. I got a 9, plus 2 is 11, so success. He's hesitant, but in the end, you know, he looks me over and decides, all right, he can spare a little bit more because he really wants to get what's at the bottom of that manse in the basement. He's hoping for some wonderful, some sort of dark tome, perhaps. He doesn't say any of this, you know, but he's not desperate, but he wants it, and he can afford to send more men to their deaths in the hopes of getting it. So he agrees, and he says, you know, in a couple hours, meet back here. I will have the men ready, and you will lead them to the manse. And I guess his specific instructions for these mercenaries is to go to this location, recover any valuables that are still there in the manse, and make sure to go into the basement and bring back what you find. Anything odd, anything that might be of interest, bring back here. You know, he's pretty vague. He doesn't want to say too much, but hopefully that will get him what he needs. And if not, you know, if they clear it out, he'll probably go there himself to make sure. Okay, so 2 hours later, we all convene. So it's September 10th. Convinced Garando to send another mercenary group. Alkaline joins for 5 silver. And yeah, we head out. So again, you know, a few hours, couple hours trip into the woods. I've been to this man several times now. I make sure that I have arcane armor on for the next 4 hours, so we're all good. And we arrive back at the manse. Are there bugs? Are there hell bugs? I want to say yes. And I think this is actually a good opportunity to introduce the larva. There's a big swarm of larvae that have come out and are now like consuming the bodies of the previous mercenary group, which is pretty horrific. And probably all the hellbugs really should be frightening. I don't know. Well, and it's a big bug. Is that a frightening thing? To most people, I would say. I don't know if I have an example here of like a big bug, but a griffin isn't frightening. So I feel like frightening more has to be like, look, even hell swine, which are like boars the size of rhinoceros or something. Not rhinoceros. They're the size of horses or something. That's not frightening. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I think it's more like if hell wasps implant eggs into somebody and they burst out of them. Like, that's pretty frightening. That's horrifying, really. I don't know if I'd want to make something this simple to be frightening, though. Probably not. I mean, here's a vampire bat the size of, like, a dog. That's not frightening. So, we'll leave it as it is. But yeah, we've got 6 bodies there. Let's say... I mean, let's really test this out. This is my first time trying out minions with this new system. So let's say like 3 larvae per body. There's 18 larvae feasting on this pile of corpses. And I think we should set it up. I think we should run this. Give me a second. I wouldn't say that my system is specifically designed for a grid exclusively. I'm certain you could play this with Theater of the Mind. But I don't know. Like 5th edition D&D is not specifically designed for a grid, but most people play with a grid. Okay. Is there not a way to... Okay, never mind. Whatever. Okay. Bring this back. So, this is where it'd be nice to just have, like... Oh, apparently I purchased brigands at some point. It's interesting. It's some sort of map. Yeah, maybe just like the forest. That probably works fine. Okay. But then I can't see the grid. Is that important to me? Do I need to see the grid? There you go. Good. And then we've got our brigands. These kind of guys. So, 6 of them. And then there's me. Heroes. Some sort of cool mage man. Some cool wizard man. There you go. Looking like a badass. And then the bugs. Beetles? I don't know if they're going to have larva or worm or something. It's fairly limited. We'll just go with beetles for now. We know that they're larvae. We can use the power of imagination. But I need a fuck ton of these things. And that is, you know, that's a question. A decision to be made. So we have minions, right? We've gone over minions. And we know that we can throw a lot of minions into a battle. Okay. But, you know, everything occupies a square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12. Probably made too many. I just kept going. Okay. So there's our 18. So you could run every minion as its own thing in its own square and so on and so forth, which is like how the system is sort of designed to run. But Shadow of the Demon Lord has the mob system where you can take like 10 difficulty 1 creatures and you combine them into one big mob, a single unit. And it gets, you know, stats and buffs based on, you know, the original creature stats and things like that. And then instead of moving each one of them individually, you have one sort of 3x3 creature block, and you do 1 turn for that whole thing. And, you know, it gets different. It has some rules based on being a mob. And then once the mob dies, it like splits up. And I think it turns into 1d6 of the original creatures that are now individuals. So I haven't run a mob, but maybe we should try that. Maybe we should do 1 mob and then like a bunch of individuals and just kind of see the difference. The only question I have is how a mob interacts with the minion rules, because the mobs were not designed for minions. The mobs were designed for just straight up difficulty 1 creatures. And the whole point of minions is that they die in 1 hit. A mob doesn't die in 1 hit. So I could maybe rework the mob rules, but yeah, probably let's just test out the standard minion gameplay for right now. I don't know, something like that. And these guys probably were a little bit... Wait, how many copies did I make? What the fuck? I made too many. I kept on pressing it. Okay. These are all individuals. Good. So something like that, and then I'm bringing up the rear. All right. Done. So, slight change, actually, I think, from last week. You know, last week I talked about the slow turn, fast turn system, which is still in play. But I think last time, and how I ran it for my family last week, was that at the start of the round, you have to declare if you're taking a fast turn or a slow turn. And then, you go. And that's how we always used to play it when we played Shadow of the Demon Lord. That's not really how the rules present it. And that's not apparently how a lot of people play, although there has been some confusion about it. Other people have played it that way like we did. But how we think it's supposed to be is that the start of the round goes, and then anyone who wants to take a fast turn just takes a fast turn. And then once everyone has kind of gone that wants to go, then the monsters go, and then the slow turns happen for anyone who didn't take a fast turn. So you don't have to declare, you don't have to set anything in stone. If you intend to take a fast turn, because there's a monster right next to you, but then someone else goes before you and like shoots it and kills it, if you had said that you declare a fast turn, you are then fucked pretty much, because there's no monster next to you. So now you just have to move and do nothing else. Whereas with the proper system, you could then say, oh, well, now I have to take a slow turn. And so you don't take a fast turn. I think that's a better system, so I wish we always had played that way. But all right. So how do you handle hirelings then? How do you handle like allied NPCs? I don't know. Did it talk about that in the hireling section? GM has mechanics for these characters in Chapter 10. You do? What's Chapter 10? The Bestiary. You have stats for them. You don't have mechanics for them. Okay, I don't know. I don't know if they just, like, take their own turn. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't. It would kind of depend, I guess. Like one of my classes, the knight starts with a squire, and so for that, I would just say, okay, you're in control of the squire. You control when he goes. You can take fast turn, slow turn. He's basically like a little player character. And another one of my players is a beastmaster. She's got like a wolf. She's in control of when that wolf goes and what it does on its turn. But in cases like this, where it's like, okay, there's 6 dudes, I guess I'm just in control of all of them. So I think probably what we should do, instead of rushing up, have all of the guys take fast turns, and they're all going to use the prepare action. And they're preparing to attack the first thing that comes within reach. And this is sort of like the main example they give for the prepare action in the book. That you set it, you say, I attack the first thing that comes within reach. And that trigger, that preparation lasts until the end of the round. And if that gets triggered by something moving within your reach, you spend a triggered action to make it happen, and you get 1 boon on the roll. So the prepare action, pretty powerful way, easy way to get a boon. So they're all going to set up for that. As for Malkalon, I could use unerring darts. And I actually want to double check something here. Let's go back to the Flea Mortals book. I want to go back to their statement on minions. Spells and effects that deal damage without any attack, roll, or save. Yes, so I think you actually have to... I think you actually have to roll an attack. Yeah. I don't know if... Yeah, it's not... Yeah, well, it's an attack. It's an attack roll, as far as we would call it. So it has to be an attack roll. It can't just be... like you set them on fire, or... Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, they use the example of magic missile. I have a couple of those. I have magic dart and unerring darts. So unerring darts does 1 damage for each dart, meaning that I couldn't just target 5 of these things and kill 5 of them with 1 spell. I'd have to point all 5 of them at 1, because the other thing is, if a minion takes damage from another effect, they die if the damage equals or exceeds their hit point maximum. Otherwise, they take no damage. So these things we're fighting have 5 health. Hell larva have 5 health. So yeah, I'd have to use unerring darts to kill 1. And magic dart could never kill 1. Because if the damage doesn't kill them, they don't take any damage. But it's specifically just for those kind of things, where it's not an attack roll. So those are actually kind of lame and not that useful. Whereas if I use Earth Spike, as long as I hit 1, it will die. Now, mines... also not that good in this case. Because... it's not an attack roll. So it would actually have to do 5 damage. And it's 2d6, so it's likely to do 5 damage. It's not a bad, but it is 2 stress just for 1 spell. Whereas I could just use Earth Spike and call it a day. Or we could use Tremor. And that would actually cause them, many of them to fall prone. And what is the penalty for being prone, by the way? Crawling. It just says move by crawling. I guess it's under move. Great. Yeah, it is crawling. Okay. Half speed. Tremor seems pretty good. Let us spend 1 stress, and precisely 1 stress. And it's a radius of 20 feet. I think we have a ruler here somewhere. Okay, that didn't tell me anything. Yeah, that's what I want. You're not telling me anything. Okay, I can just figure it out. I'm a big boy. So, right here, we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20, 5, 10, 15. So, yeah, all of these. This whole area, then. So, if I want to draw... it's too small. 5, 10, 15, 20. There's gotta be an easier way to do this. Something like that. Let's go with that. Okay. There's my tremor radius, my tremor circle. Okay, so 1 round. Any creature other than me standing on the ground or moves into it must make an agility challenge roll, falling prone on a failure. Now here's a good question. Do you roll an agility challenge roll for each bug? I probably could do that. I mean, digitally, it's not that big of a deal. Digitally, pretty quick to do that. These things each have an agility of 9, so they all get -1. So we could just go down the line and just kind of see. At a table, I don't know what I'd do. I don't think I'd want to do one roll for all of them, because then they're all prone, or none of them are prone. I mean, it's very swingy. I don't know. I'd maybe group them up into 3s. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. But for now, I'm just gonna roll 18 times, and I'll go top to bottom, left to right. Success, fail. How do we mark prone? Oh god. That's another thing I didn't think about. Oh, there's definitely gonna be snail? You think it's a snail symbol? Okay. Fail, success, fail. Okay, this is really... They're just gonna, like, stand up on their turn, so this is such a waste of time. We could skip this whole marking step. And now I lost my snail. What the hell? You just gave me a snail. You can only have one snail at a time? 2 snails at a time? What is this snail bullshit? Alright, anyways. 3 of them have fallen prone. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10 of them fell prone. Okay. That was my turn. They all prepared. The ones that went prone will spend their movement to stand. And then they can take an action to actually move. The other ones can all move 5 squares. 10 if they attack. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they'll move up. You know, they're dumb bugs. 3, 4, 5. I don't remember which ones I marked. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. None of them are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could actually attack, but he might die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One more will move up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then the others all move only 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, there are faster ways to do, like, everything I did here. But I'm not really a proficient DM. Most of my life has been playing. What's going on here? Just a little solo role-playing. You know, the usual. Okay, so before any attacks might happen, which I think is 2 of them, the guys all get to make their triggered attacks. So that's this guy, this here, this here, this here, this here, and this here. So they all get to roll, and let me just... I don't think I have stats yet for just, like, brigands and I have cultists. I don't think I wrote in bandits or brigands or mercenaries or anything like that yet. So we'll just use the Demon Lord ones. And we'll use the same stats I did last time, which I think was Brigands. Yeah. So they get +3 with 2 boons, thanks to Prepared. 1d6 +2. So the first guy, he rolls a 19. No, he rolls higher than that. 13 +3 is 16 +6, 22. And he rolls 1d6 +2, which is 8 damage. So he kills this one for sure. And then again, let me just confirm the overkill. So melee overkill range within reach of the attack. So he actually does not have any within reach of his attack. Because obviously he can't just like keep stretching his arm out and stabbing bugs, 20 feet away. So yeah, it has to be within his reach. Second guy gets a 20, and his damage is 6. So he does kill this, and he can overkill to kill this one as well. Third guy, he rolls a 20. 25. He kills this. Crits have no meaning by themselves, so, this guy rolls... They're all rolling phenomenally well, by the way. 24. And his damage is 6. He kills this one, and he can kill this one. This guy rolls against that one, which is 15. It's a hit for 5 damage. Oh, +2, 7 damage. Doesn't matter. Nothing else within reach. And then the last guy... why did I roll twice? He rolled a 1, so he actually misses. So this one, I don't think that was within... No attacks from the larva. Okay, and then none of us took slow turns, so that's the end of the round. And none of them ended their turn within 3 or more larvae. So the swarming mass does not come into effect for anybody. And now we have to decide, a new round, if they take fast turns or slow turns. And this is a good example. They could do the same thing. They could prepare again and cut down any that come there. And when you have an entirely melee group of little pissant minions, it's not a bad strat. They're all going to come within your reach. 100%. None of them are going to be able to sit back and just pelt you. So it's probably the best bet. They get to make their attack as soon as the enemy comes within reach with an extra boon. If they wanted to try and attack on their turn, none of them could charge. None of them have a straight line, 3 spaces to charge. They do all have ranged weapons. But again, if I were DMing, which I guess I am, to put away a weapon and to take one out, each costs a free action. And you only get 1 free action on a fast turn, 2 free actions on a slow turn. So they could, they can't really swap weapons without taking a slow turn. And if they take a slow turn, all the bugs are going to come in and do some damage beforehand. So best bet probably is going to be the same strat. Fast turn plus prepare. As for Malkalon, he's probably just going to Earth Spike one. I don't think we want to waste any more stress. And Magic Dart will not kill any. So he has to use Earth Spike. So, I don't know. Pick one of them. Let's pick this guy. fuck him in particular. Actually, it's within short range. It has to be within 6 squares. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, fuck this one in particular. It's a will attack versus agility. His agility is 9 and plus 2 will. You get no boons or anything. No boons. I do get a boon if I cast my Grimoire spell, which I should specifically mark right now is Mines and Drowning. Yeah, will versus agility. I got a 10. And I roll 1d6. That is 3. Not an overkill, but any amount of damage on an attack is enough to kill him. So dead. Easy. Then I think this guy is actually going to just attack. He's not going to fuck about. So he rolls plus 3. He definitely hit. And his damage is 7. Dead. Okay. Then the other 5 prepare. So let's do top to bottom here. This one moves here. This guy's probably not going to get to do anything. Okay. So this guy, he swings. He hits for sure for 8 damage. Dead. This one moves up to here. This guy's going to use his prepare. He also hits for 8 damage. Dead. Then we got this one. 1, 2, 3. Maybe I would be smarter than that. As a DM, I don't know. So he'd move up to there. This guy is going to move up to here. He'll use his prepared action to miss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. This guy has his prepared action, which is a hit for 8 damage. Dead. Then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and now all of these are going to make attacks. So let's have these two do a group attack. And again, I want to double check the group attack rules. 2 to 5 minions of the same stat block who share a turn. And I'll share their action. Plus 1 to the attack roll for each minion who joins the attack. Okay, so if 2 of them would be plus 2 to the roll. So all in, then they get plus 3 to the roll. And then you multiply damage by the number of minions who join the attack, which in this case will be 2 damage. Not a big deal. But alright, plus 3. 14. Their defense of these brigands is 15. So that's a miss. This guy's just doing plus 1. Also a miss. These two will do a group attack against that guy. Miss. And then the last one by himself. Miss. Yeah, they're pretty weenies. I mean, we could have just hand-waved this whole fight. And we just kind of butcher them. But I wanted to see how the minion thing played out. Minions alone are pretty weak. But if I had thrown in some Hell Wasps in addition, you know, it would have been a different story, I think. Okay. Then that's the round. Now, we do actually... No, we don't get... No. Swarming Mass kicks in at the end of a creature's turn. Unlikely to happen. I think we can probably say this is done. But let's have this guy just swing. He rolls a 7 with 1 boon. So that's 14. That's a hit. His damage is 4. It's enough to kill 1. I'll have this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. He'll swing. Definitely a hit for 7 damage. 5 to this one. Overkill to this one. Dead. This guy will swing. A hit for 6 damage. 5 damage to this one. 1 overkill. Kills that one. And this guy, 11 plus 2, enough. And any amount of damage. Dead. Okay. So that was 18 larvae against 7 guys. Pretty simple. I think the guideline from the MCDM book was that like 5 minions is equal to 1 standard creature. So that was basically just like 3 hook scuttlers, sort of. Which, yeah, probably wouldn't be that tough. Okay, easy peasy. We just stomped and butchered a bunch of larvae. Okay, and then we encounter, you know, the half-eaten bodies that have been, like, kind of melted by the larva's consumption of them, covering them in acidic spit. So, I don't even know if they would want to try and loot the bodies. They would, of course, find that they have already been looted. So, I mean, if I were DMing for a group, I'd probably do that, a little bit of an opportunity there, where they, like, one of them checks the bodies and is like, hey, there's no money here. But they weren't told the whole situation or story. They don't even know who I am, really. Just that I'm a wizard that's accompanying them. So, it's probably whatever. Okay, and then we have the manse. The doors are open. And I don't know if I have a map of and I am never sure on the map layer. There you go. There you go. Good. Clear drawings and text. Okay. I don't know if I have a map of a mansion. That's what I got. I mean, that's weak. I guess probably they expect you to, like, just buy everything. I can't imagine there's not, like, a billion maps on Roll20, you know, that people have made. There's got to be maps for everything. Although I don't even know if Roll20 is that popular anymore. I never hear it discussed. Back when I played online, which was years ago, I mean, prior to COVID, Roll20 was like the sort of virtual tabletop. But now I always hear about Foundry and, gosh, what's the other one? Fantasy Grounds, I think. And probably a couple others I've heard of. I almost never hear anyone mention Roll20. So maybe I'm out of date. Anyways, we don't need maps. Stop drawing circles. We don't need maps. We very hesitatingly, not me, I don't lead the charge, I'm in the back, but you know, the bravest among them sort of poke their heads into this manse. And yeah, it's certainly not pretty in there. And I think we probably have to kind of encounter some more creatures that are gonna come out of the woodworks. I guess I'd probably describe it as kind of like just warped. Like the whole interior of this mansion is just warped, both from groups of large bugs kind of making a residence of it for years, and also the latent demonic energy from whatever's down in the basement that's just kind of spilling out, and we can kind of feel it prickling our skin a little bit as we enter. That it just feels kind of dark and otherworldly. So yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I probably have another combat encounter here. And I think it's just kind of like, what do you expect? You know, it's not one of those sort of situations or adventures you go on because you're planning on negotiating or talking your way out of stuff. Like, you're going into a mansion filled with hell bugs. You're gonna fight hell bugs. You should not have like a surprised Pikachu face here or anything. So yeah, I think we probably get into another encounter. But this one's gonna be trickier. We're not gonna deal with just larvas this time. So this is probably where I would have the group roll a perception check or something like that. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even need to. And I think an over-reliance on perception checks is not really a great thing. Most of the time, you just want your players to be aware of stuff, rather than some sort of fun gotcha moment for them when they all fail perception checks, because that's lame. So unless they're being really stupid, or for whatever reason just making some sort of loud noises or whatever, who knows what they're doing. Most of the times they're entering a place cautiously, their ears are like straining to hear stuff, you know. So I would describe how they start to hear like skittering noises coming from all around them, coming from the walls and the ceiling and things like the place is coming alive around you. And then they would be like, oh shit, you know, they'd get ready. And this is not really a situation where they get ambushed by bugs. They are fully aware that bugs are here, you know, and they're coming. At least give them a chance. Yeah, I mean, this is not going to be a fun battle for the group. So, I mean, if I were playing, I'd say like, okay, you know, the squishies get in the middle. Get, you know, form a barrier. So, and again, if I were DMing, I'd want my players to kind of like form up, get into their battle positions. I mean, you see that in loads of films and stuff like that. This is probably a little tight, but we're gonna roll with this as our positioning. And if I were playing, I'd be like, okay, here we are. This is our position. And we wait. And then the DM, you know, grins maniacally and just keeps throwing more and more bugs onto the mat. Okay, so what do we want? And this brings up the question of encounter balance. Very common thing that has been discussed for decades. And kind of a fairly important part of modern game design is providing players the information and the means to develop and design balanced encounters. And I think we talked about last week about how balance is kind of a false god, but I think that's more in relation to character development and having characters and things be imbalanced, or having notable monsters and stuff be a bit unbalanced. But I do still think that it is important for a DM to understand, you know, some semblance of balance, because maybe realistically I throw just 100 hell wasps at these players and they get utterly annihilated. That's not fun. Maybe like, yeah, what did you expect, dumbass? But that's not a comfort to a dead player character, you know? But at the same time, I could throw just like 3 hell wasps and 2 larvae at them and they just clean up and, you know, they're never even challenged. Also not fun. A balanced encounter is there because it is interesting. So, obviously, since this game is largely based on Shadow of the Demon Lord, we use their sort of difficulty numbers and their balancing. And for our creatures here, we have the larvae are difficulty 1 minions, so we can throw a lot of those at them. I have the hooked scuttlers at difficulty 1. I actually have boom bugs at difficulty 5, but that should also be 1. Their stats are pretty close. Yeah, basically the same. And then hell wasps I do have at difficulty 5, and that's mostly where I want it. I don't want to overwhelm them with hell wasps. Okay, so those are the numbers, but how do you design an encounter then? That depends on partly on a system that we're not really using, although it's easily translatable. Combat difficulty. Okay. So, this is the chart. Starting is for level 0, so we can ignore that. Novice is 1 through 3. Expert is 4 through 6. Master's 7 through 10, or something like that. Something like that. Vaguely. So, and then you have easy, average, challenging, hard. And then you have a max creature difficulty, so you don't throw, like, a super heavy demon at a group of level 2 characters. And then you just add up the point values of their difficulty to get to a number. So for an average encounter for a novice group, you would have, say, 3 level 5 creatures. That's an average difficulty. Probably pretty easy, but that was technically average. Now, if there's ever more enemies than there are player characters, it bumps up 1 step. So if you have 15 level difficulty 1 creatures, that becomes a challenging encounter due to the action economy. Now, I don't know how minions fit in there. Again, we could go to the 5 minions equals 1 one normal creature. They do have more action economy, technically, but they also die. They can die very easily to a single hit, multiple of them. So it's a general guideline. I don't know how much I care to really get into the nitty-gritty of designing, like, yes, this is the exact perfect amount of points for this encounter. But I think it's a general thing of you probably don't want to slip into hard territory if you can help it, or unless the players are quite well prepared for it. And again, we're running a different game sort of nowadays, so balance and play, it's all up in the air. But I would say we want to have, I want 3 hell wasps. Let's go with that. Let's just start with that. And I think this is kind of thing that, like, some prep is advantageous. Like, if you just have these encounters in mind, or even if you just have, like, a bundle of enemies in mind, like the smallest amount of prep. It's like, okay, I know my players are going to go to this location. They might encounter this group of enemies, and I've already calculated I want 3 of these, 2 of these, 5 of these, and 4 of these. Again, you could just come up with that on the fly, but, a little prep can go a long way. I'm just trying to find a bug, or a bee or something. Can't find shit. We'll just go with bats. Okay, these are our hell wasps. Okay. So we've got our 3 hell wasps. So that's 15 points already. We're already in the average difficulty. Beyond that, we want... Let's not mix too many bugs. You don't want too many different creatures in the same thing. There's too much to keep track of with different abilities and everything. So let's just go with hook scuttlers. More hell wasps. Okay, I'll add one more. Let's go with 5 hooks. No, more than that. 8? No, that's too many. 6. We'll go 6. We'll use centipedes. Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then let's go with a good amount of larvae. Let's go with 10 of those. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And I need to get music again. I'll kill everyone all at once. I mean, I don't care if the mercenaries die, but I gotta live. Okay, so kind of just spread these out a little bit. You know, coming from both sides. Hell wasps. Kind of coming from all over the place. So, hook scuttlers. Somewhat spread out there. Yeah, I mean, so that's a lot of shit. And if we tallied it all up, so let's say we've got 10 minions. So that's technically 2 level 1 creatures converted. That's 2 points, plus 6 hook scuttlers, so that's another 6 points, so that's 8. Plus 20 points of hell wasps is 28 points. So that would be average, except we do outnumber the players. So that bumps it up to challenging. But it's like very close to hard. And that's heavily dependent on if I've actually successfully converted these. And, you know, these actually are difficulty 1 and 5 when they could be higher. Probably everything's higher. Okay, there's our situation then. It's a lot of stuff. And I think players should always be aware of what creatures are minions or not. Like, you should just tell them. So they know, like, you know, when you're setting everything up, you know, they can shit their pants, but then you tell them, like, oh, you know, these are minions, just so you know. Diminishes the shit your pant moment a little bit. Okay, so, we could use mines. It actually does not specify they have to, like, walk across it or anything like that. It's just when a creature moves into the spot, you can trigger the mine to explode in a 10-foot radius. You could argue that the hell wasps are flying higher than 10 feet, but again, that would be a dickish DM thing to do. So I guess maybe I should fast action and do mines, and we might be able to catch some hook scuttlers and hellworms, but I don't want to blow up my buddies. I gotta be a little careful about that. Now, if I charge the mind spell, this is, again, like, kind of up to the DM. These spells are not designed to be easily doubleable. So it'd be up to the DM to decide, like, what does that mean when you charge it? I would probably, I mean, I would say, okay, it becomes a 60-foot cube instead of 30-foot cube. It goes out to long range instead of medium range. Sure, this all makes sense. But does it become 10 mines? Does it become a 20-foot radius explosion? Does it do 4d6 damage instead? Or does it do all of those things? I think all of it is a little much just for doubling the cost. The general idea for doubling, for charging a spell, is that you basically cast the spell twice. Sort of. With one action, you cast the spell twice. I mean, sometimes it extends beyond that, like when you get a range increase or something, but that's the general idea. So I guess I would say 10 mines, 10-foot radius to the explosion, 4d6 damage. I think that already is pretty good. But that's basically casting the same spell twice and just spreading it out across an area. So it does more damage, but you basically are casting the same spell twice. Okay, so I'm going to use Spell Focus then. I charge a spell expending 0 health points, which is a really weird way for me to charge a spell taking 0 stress. None of that was correct. Taking 0 stress. 60-foot cube is 12 squares by 12 squares. It's pretty big. So we just need an object of some kind. This campfire. And here, I mean, it's a tricky thing, actually, this spell. If I was playing, well, I mean, right here. Because it's like, who's to say? Ideally, you'd have a digital solution, and the player would be able to secretly mark specific squares and say, okay, I put a mine here, 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 here. And the DM can't see it. And then the DM just moves his creatures and does his turn, and then the player can be like, oh, hold up. I detonate this mine, and then it gets them. That would be ideal. But without that, like if you're playing on a tabletop, I think you probably just have to give kind of the advantage to the player. I would probably just do it like, you know, the creature moves in as straight a line, you know, the crow flies as much as possible towards the nearest target. Like, that's basically how I would have to do it. And I think if I laid down that rule and said, that's how I'm going to be moving creatures, just so you know, then players can kind of plan around that. It's weird-ass campfire. Why is it 4x4 grid? Oh, because of the smoke. Okay. Fuck your campfire. This is the right campfire. So, 10-foot radius means 2 squares. 2 squares orthogonally, 1 square diagonally, so that won't actually hit anything. And, we get 10 of these. We get a lot of mines. Chances are I'll be able to clip everything, but it's only in a 12x12 square. So I can't just place things around the whole map. It's just more likely I'm going to clip targets a couple times. Except they can only trigger 1 mine per round. Each of them. That's not to say they can't get hurt more than once per round. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I don't know. Something like that. Mines all over the place. Okay, so that was my action. The other guys are probably all gonna prepare. Probably eyeing up those hell wasps, you know? So they'll just prepare to attack the first thing comes within range. Okay. So then I would, as a DM, would go. Let's do hell wasps first. Hell Wasps have speed 35. They can move 7 squares, flying. So this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He can't get within range, so he's probably not going to rush in. He's a little smarter than that. 1, 2, 3. When a creature moves in the area, so anywhere in that 12 by 12 grid, I can decide to trigger 1 mine. So when it moves there, I'm going to trigger this mine. It blows up. 10-foot radius. It's going to hit both of these bugs for 4d6 damage. So you roll damage once, and that applies to both creatures. They do get to each make an agility challenge roll. But the 4d6 is 2, 3, 5, 10 damage. So that will be enough to kill both of them if they fail their agility, which is +3. The Hell Wasp rolls an 11. And the other guy, so they both succeed. They both take 5 damage. Hell Wasp dead. This guy down to 5 health. Okay. This Hell Wasp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he'll probably move like here. I'll trigger this mine. Boom. 1, 2, 2, 2. That was a lot of damage. That's 22 damage. She just gets obliterated. Minefield, baby. It's cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, they don't want to go in there alone. They want to lure them out, ideally. Alright, then the Hook Scuttlers. They each get to move 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. This guy's going to use his prepared action. So, 2 boons plus 3. 8, 11. I think that's a hit, and he has 11 defense. 1d6 plus 2 is 4 damage. This guy has 6 health left. Not a minion. This one. 1, 2, 3, and this mine will trigger. This guy only has 5 health left. Oh yeah, he took 19 damage. He's dead. Oh, his agility challenge roll. Still dead. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll trigger this mine. 4d6. How many times does his roll? Okay. 14. His agility challenge roll is a success, so he takes 7 damage. 3 health left. How many times do he move? 1, 2, 3. 4, 5. I guess he'll move up. It's pretty dumb. This guy gets his prepared action. Definitely a hit for 8 damage. Dead. 1, 2, 3. I'll trigger this one. 4, 5, 7 damage. And he succeeded. So he takes 3 damage. 4, 5. I can't trigger another mine from him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This guy will use his prepared action. Definitely a hit for 4 damage. Not enough to kill him, unfortunately. 1, 2, 3, 4. Trigger this. 13 damage. He fails his saving throw, so he is dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Oh, wait, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then the larvas all get to go. They each move 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. This guy uses his prepared action. Hits for 6 damage. Dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's actually gonna bite. +1. He hits for 1 damage. Aha. You have 14 health left. There's a cat in my way. I can't see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll move up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. This mine gets triggered. For 16 damage. And he failed. He's definitely dead. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll move up here. This guy gets his roll. Success for 5 damage. Dead. 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh. Well, without thinking, I moved into that spot, so that mine will get triggered. For 16 damage. Either way, dead. And that's the end of the first round. That minefield did some work. All right, thanks, Lindy Doll. So I think without the mine, like without me there, say the minefield didn't. The minefield killed a lot, actually. We have 3 hook scuttlers left. We started with 6, so half of those died. 2 of the hell wasps died, and 4 of the larvae died. That wasn't all entirely due to the mines, but mostly due to the mines. Is mines overtuned? No, it's more just charging spells is overtuned. I don't know. I really love the mechanic. I really love the idea of it. But obviously Shadow of the Demon Lord was not designed with that in mind. So I'm concerned that it's going to just break a lot of stuff. But that's what we're playtesting. Okay. No person. Okay, yeah, okay, we're good. So new round. Obviously fast turns are the flavor du jour. As they tend to be, I think, in this system. It's very painful to choose to go after enemies. But I think some of these guys would choose slow. This guy would choose slow, because most likely he's going to be screwed with nothing to do. And this guy would probably choose to go slow. That would make sense. But the other 4 and Malkalon will all go fast. So, Malkalon is going to use Unerring Darts. He's going to specifically target this Hell Wasp. No, this Hell Wasp. With all 5 darts. So 5 damage, it has 5 health, dead. It does cost me a stress, but worth it. I do not want to be injected with wasp eggs. Hell wasp eggs. So that's that. This guy probably is going to target one of the minions. I think we want to just get rid of those. Oh, and actually we forgot about the key part of the hook scuttlers, the hooks. 1 damage whenever it moves up to a target. So this guy is actually at 13 automatically, and this guy is at 14 automatically. Okay, so this guy is going to target 1 boon. That's 13. He rolls 5 damage. No overkill. Dead. This guy... See, now, if he went slow, and he moved up to position himself between the 2, he might be able to kill both. But as it is, he can only kill this one. And he hits it for 7 damage, so he would have overkilled, but there you go. So that is, you know, an incentive to slow moves, to actually position yourself properly. So that was them two. Now we've got these two. I think this guy will... He's going to target this Hook Scuttler. He gets 13, which is definitely a hit for 7 damage. Dead. This guy will target this minion. A 9, 12. Yep, that's a hit. 8 damage is death. Done. And that's all the fast actions. These other two are slow. So, the baddies finally get to wreak havoc. Let's start with the Hell Wasp. And I think, you know, if I'm going to be honest, the Hell Wasp would probably swoop in towards Malkalon. I hate to say it, I really do. But I did just snipe his buddy out of the sky. And clearly I'm the most threatening one. So he swoops in to stab me in the head with his horribleness. +3, 1d6 +1. So he actually has an over 50% chance to hit me. My 12 defense. He does roll a 17. For a total of 2 damage. So again, that combines with my stress. So technically I have taken 4 strain. Yeah, whatever other term we can come up with from a thesaurus. A combined damage plus stress of 4. So if that number hits 17, I'm incapacitated. So, yes, in a way, casting spells does, you know, lower your health. Not technically, but it makes you closer to death. Brings you closer to death. But, And the way that we have it, it's kind of unfortunate. Like, if I had 15 stress, and then I take 2 damage, I would be incapacitated and dying. Whereas if I had 15 damage, and then I take 2 stress, I wouldn't die. I'd become incapacitated and catatonic for an hour. But either way, no matter what, you're going down. You're on the ground, and you're defenseless and useless. You're out of the fight. And it's actually worse, I think, to be incapacitated from stress, because you are catatonic for at least an hour. You cannot be just picked up and brushed off. Your mind has shut down and is rebooting. Whereas damage can be healed. So if you go down from an injury, yeah, you are inches from death, but you can be stabilized, you can be healed. You know, within 10 seconds, you could be brought back into the fight. So they are kind of different. But anyways. So now we have to roll a strength challenge roll. And if we fail, we take 3 ongoing envenom damage. That's pretty bad. We have +0 to the roll. So straight up D20, 50%. Well, wait a minute. Is it 50% or is it 55%? Target number is always 10. Equal or greater. So it's actually 55%. It's 10 or higher. So you actually always, no matter what, if you have 0 to the roll, no modifier, you have a greater than even chances of success. So we have 55%. I rolled a 9, so we failed. Okay, so I have 3 envenom. Envenom. That means at the start of my turn, if I am still have 3 envenomed, I will take 3 damage. And then, as an action, you know, I could shrug it off, or I can do something else, and then at the end of my turn, make another strength challenge roll. And if I succeed on that, I'm no longer envenomed. If I fail, I'm still 3 envenomed. So that's the choices here. This music is this oh god, what's the name of this band? No, it just sounds very similar to that band. No, I guess this is all kind of I can never remember the name of that band anyways. And I don't know the genre of this music. It's Norse punk or something, I don't know. Anyways. Okay. So that was the Hell Wasp's turn. That's where he's at. Then the Hook Scuttlers are going to go. So for them, it's a +3 to the roll, and then 3 damage. We're not even going to bother rolling for that. So this guy, +3 to the roll, 12, that's a miss. This guy, +3 to the roll, hit for 3 damage. He's at 10 health now. He's getting beaten up a little bit. This bug's going to move up. These are going to make a group attack. So that is +3 to the roll. And that is a hit. He takes 2 more damage. This guy attacking here, +1 to the roll, miss, done. Then the slow actions go. This guy is going to go. He's just going to swing, I guess. +3 with a boon. Definitely a hit. For 8 damage. This Hell Wasp is dead. And then this guy is going to go. He's going to swing at this minion. +3 with 1 boon. He rolled plenty. For 8 damage. Dead. And dead. And that is the round. So I guess this is where ongoing kind of conflicts and I have to make a ruling. Do I say ongoing damage just ticks at the start of the round? Or do I say it ticks at the start of the character's turn? When they say, it's my turn, I'm going. Because if I say it's at the start of their turn, then in this situation, they could just sit there quietly, because they don't have to declare that they're taking a fast turn. And then one of the other guys says, okay, I spend my action on a fast turn, and I patch up Malkalon, and I remove his thing. And then Malkalon says, oh, okay, I take a fast turn. And now he has taken no damage from Envenom. I think the point of the start of the turn idea, like in 4th edition, was that it guarantees at least once you are taking some ongoing damage. At least once, barring any other thing, you are taking that. Now, there is still the possibility that one of those guys on their slow turn after Malkalon got hit, he could have gone over and patched him up immediately. I think in that case, there's not much I can do to prevent that, so we'll just allow it. If someone wants to be really Johnny on the spot and has a slow turn and is able to get to the person and spend their action, then okay, fine. But I think we're going to say start of the round. Everyone that has ongoing damage ticks ongoing damage. You could do end of the round as well. I mean, either way. But start of the round. Declared. Done. Set in stone. That's RPG design. Live. Okay. So, my 3 Envenom ticks. I'm now at 5 damage. So, I'm at 7 then. Total. I can only spend, say, like 9 more stress on spells. Assuming I don't take any more damage. And then I'm kind of peaked out. So, but I have a healing potion. Let's not forget. Okay. I think most of us are just going to take fast turns. And hopefully Alkaline doesn't have to do much. We'll see. Well, I guess this guy are fast turns. The other 4 are slow turns. And then Malkalon's probably fast. So this guy is going to swing at this Hook Scuttler. He definitely hits, and he gets 3 damage, which is quite lame. This guy swings at this Hook Scuttler. Definitely hits for 4 damage. Quite lame. And then Malkalon, I either spend an action to remove my Envenomed, but I'm probably going to tell one of the other guys to do it. And narratively, it doesn't make sense. I mean, what is he really doing? Is the guy coming over and, like, sucking out the poison out of my wound? Like, I don't know. Don't question it. Don't question. I'm hesitant to spend more stress on this little bit of a shit fight, so we're just going to use Magic Dart on this thing. 1d3 plus 1. So let me get a d3 here. 3. 4 damage. He's dead. Okay. And then slow turn. No, monsters go. So this guy... the bugs probably run. I mean, they're not mindless. Or are they? Do you think bugs just fight to the death? I think if they're injured, like if they've taken damage, then clearly there's like a threat here. But I don't think this uninjured larva has like the mental faculties to detect that, like, I'm losing this fight. These are big threats. Like, as far as he's concerned, he's winning. So I'm going to roll a will challenge roll for this Hook Scuttler because he's been damaged. -2. Okay, he's like, fuck this. I'm out of here. So he's going to try and run and scuttle away. This guy gets a free attack. He definitely hits, but only does 4 damage. So this thing... whoops. This thing gets away. We do not kill it. Scuttles into the walls. But this thing is going to go +1 against this guy. He rolls a 1. Okay. And then, yeah, obviously this guy just moves up and butchers him. Done. And then this guy sucks the poison out of my wound. As you do. And that's a victory. Okay, so all told, after that big battle, which according to the numbers was challenging, and keep in mind, these are not player characters. These actually are underpowered. I counted them as player characters, but not really. Although, all things considered, they're probably about as powerful as a level 1 player character, like a warrior. 15 health is a little low, for sure, but 15 defense is good. +3 with 1 boon on attacks is solid, and 1d6 +2 on damage. I mean, what more do you really want? So, these guys are not shabby. So all told, you know, we've got 1 damage there, 1 damage there, 7 damage there. Malkalon has taken 5 damage, and 2 stress. Not too bad. Overall, I would say that was that was leaning towards easy, because mines cleared up so much trouble. And I think I tend to do this, actually. I think I tend to do this when I'm TMing for other people and stuff. I tend to make encounters a bit too easy. And I don't know why, because, like, some of the best times when I was used to play, you know, with my DM was like when the DM just would just put down just loads of shit, just like huge shit, and you're like, oh my god, and you're just like sweating as he's setting up the board, and it's like, what the fuck, we're fucked. And then you persevere, you pull through, and it's not an easy battle most of the time, but you persevere and you win and you feel good. I mean, it's the Dark Souls concept. So yeah, I don't know, I shouldn't, honestly, there's an argument to not really even think about these balance numbers and encounter difficulty and stuff. Just put down an appropriate amount and just let things go. And then if you want to make some on-the-fly adjustments, you know, you can sort of fudge some things. And remember, creatures can always flee if they feel that they're losing the battle. So in combination with fudging a couple things, it could be, you could kind of make it look like they're not doing as well. And then they're like, all right, I'm out of here. We're done. You know, I mean, most people say that if you have some, you know, a reasonably intelligent creature of any kind, they will never fight to the death. They will always run or surrender. And I think a lot of DMs don't do that. So, I mean, this fight probably should have ended, like, a round sooner. Like, after the minefield explosions just going off, I mean, it probably should have scared most of the bugs away. And that's okay, unless your players are, like, only interested in combat, and that's all they care about. But, I don't know. There's loads of combat out there. So, as far as a second session of playtesting goes, pretty good. We didn't get to a lot of stuff, but we saw some ongoing damage there. You know, we used some more spells, kind of. We basically used the same spells as last time. You know, we set up some grid-based combat here, and we ran that. Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. I would like... Yeah, I mean, I don't know what narrative reasons will come up for with it, but I would like to throw in a second player character of some kind. I'm thinking maybe one of these brigands here, one of these mercenaries, decides that he wants to actually go with Malkalon on his quests. And so we just have like a warrior or something with us. That lets me, you know, playtest some more stuff, and it lets us do more things as part of the game. Be more flexible, take on bigger risks. But yeah, I think that about does it. It's, like I said, it's been like all I've been doing and working on for the last couple weeks. It's been just consuming my life. I find it really enjoyable. Changing things and just learning as we go and adjusting stuff and being like, oh no, that doesn't really work, but this works, this sounds fun, this seems good. And coming up with new classes and new abilities, and you know, going through all the bestiary. I've really been liking it, so I'm really looking forward to playing again tomorrow with my family, or on Saturday, and you know, introducing some of these other changes, introducing minions. My overall thoughts so far on minions, pretty good. Pretty good. I think I need to throw even more of them in there. I mean, they die very easily. No doubt about it. I think ranged minions, that's where it could get really interesting. I didn't use any of that. I just had these larvae. But, I mean, the goblin example that I was talking about, the goblin lackey, they can throw their daggers as a group attack. So if they can all target the same person, they can group attack and throw them. And so if you had 20 lackeys, and 10 of them are trying to rush up to melee, and 10 of them are sitting back and chucking their daggers, that becomes certainly a much more interesting fight. Combined with the tiny stab thing. But also goblin lackeys have higher armor, 14. My larvae were pretty basic bitches. But yeah, I mean, I definitely just like the idea of players just cleaving through minions the way that we were. It's just I need to throw more other shit in there to complicate things for them. Yeah, maybe I'm too nice. I think I'm just too nice. I gotta get meaner. I'm gonna throw just more and more mean shit into the mix. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting for this series, solo role Mangging series, how we've kind of altered the playstyle a little bit. I mean, early on it was very freeform, and we had like very big concept ideas and stuff like that. And we were doing, I mean, how did this even start? What was the first thing we did? Oh, the spores and all that. Yeah, I gave myself just a huge problem and then tried to solve the problem. And it's interesting that now we're doing much more smaller scale, like level 1 D&D stuff. And we're playing with a grid, and we're doing all this like turn-based combat and playing it all out. I don't know if I would have done... Well, I wouldn't have gone in here by myself. I mean, there's no denying that grid-based combat is slower. And I think overall, the combat that we have here is slower a bit than Shadow of the Demon Lord is. We've got more, things going on. But I don't know. I mean, it's fun. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of like tactical RPGs and Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy Tactics and stuff like that. Like, I do enjoy all that. And we played 4th edition D&D for years. It's just the problem with 4th edition D&D, why I would never go back to it, is that all the numbers are way too high. Like, your chance to hit enemies is so much lower than you want it to be, and enemies are just massive bags of hit points and all that sort of stuff. But the actual like combat and having all the powers and the tactical game design is all really cool. So I guess I'm trying to emulate that a little bit, which is funny because, when I first started doing all this, the whole point was more like minimalism and just free form. And now we're driving more towards 4th edition D&D. I think that's kind of where I'm at, though. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is my perfect RPG. Is like an RPG with the combat of, say, a 4th edition D&D. Like, plenty of options, plenty of character choices, development, levels, powers, ability, all that, to the nines. So combat is really just engrossing, still pretty quick, somewhat dangerous, but you have a lot of just fun choices in combat, and it's just good tactical RPG. Out of combat, I want it to be really free form, though. And magic, plenty of like utility spells, plenty of freeform stuff that doesn't just get bogged down with rules about how to do every little thing. So that you can kind of just be very flexible outside of combat. So I guess, yeah, very clear delineation between out of combat and combat. That's probably kind of weird, and I don't know how many other people are like that. But yeah, I guess I want, like, in combat to be like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics. And then I want out of combat to be Dungeons and Dragons. The idea of D&D, the general concept of a TTRPG, of just you can do anything you want, you can imagine. And for a while, I was very interested in having that same freeform idea to carry through into combat. But I find that that never really happens. Combat never ends up feeling that free form, even if you give players a lot of like vague free form abilities that they can do. And you tell players like, oh, you know, you can do all these fun, you know, anything you can imagine in combat. You could like swing on a chandelier, you know, or leap over the table, or, you know, all these fun things. It's like, no, usually combat boils down to I swing my sword and I try and kill this thing as efficiently as possible. And so you may as well lean into that and just have a lot of cool rules for combat based around combat. I don't know. There's a lot of different schools of thought. There's no perfect RPG for all people. Everybody's different, so. Anyways. But yeah, it's like, you know, I like Fire Emblem, you know, all these kind of tactical RPGs. So it's cool to like have an RPG, a TTRPG, that I can go in and I can have all these different bestiaries. I've got you know, hundreds of different monsters, and can have all these different abilities and spells and talents and stuff, and we can just set up, you know, crazy maps and situations and just play like a good TTRPG or a good tactical RPG anytime we want with all these different scenarios. That's pretty cool, I think. But anyways, I have done enough talking. This was a longer than normal episode because I was excited to talk about this and get back into it. I think it's going well. So yeah, if you want to hear more about all this and how my my family Shadows of Adventure game is going, make sure you turn into Hanging with Mang each week. That's where I discuss that stuff. But for now, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging. And I'll see you fine folks next week.